Let's go ahead with section 4 now. After talking about interpretation in modern context, in old context, Sontag states that today is such a time when the project of interpretation is largely reactionary, stifling. Stifling means something which is not so relevant, so important. It is trivial, a trifle. So the fumes of the automobile. You can use the metaphor. You can just understand the metaphors he uses. Simile. I mean to say, the fumes of automobile and of heavy industry which befoul the urban atmosphere. The effusion of interpretations of art today poisons our sensibilities. Now you can understand how severe criticism she lodges. She compares this project of interpretation, the act of interpretation, with that of pollution, the smoke, pollution because occurring because of vehicles and industry. That smoke comes in atmosphere. Similarly, interpretation of art is a poisonous process. It poisons our sensibilities. Interpretation is reactionary. It is the revenge of the intellect upon art. She looks at interpretation as the revenge. She uses the metaphor of the intellect upon art. It is the revenge of the sorry. It is yeah, revenge of the intellect upon the world as well. So she looks at interpretation as the revenge, an act of revenge, both upon art and upon the world. In her view, to interpret is to impoverish, to deplete the world in order to set up a shadow of meanings. To impoverish means to reduce the importance of something, to reduce the importance of the world itself. And what is the purpose? Just to talk about the meanings. So this is something objectionable to her. In section 5, she talks about interpretation as Philistinism. In section 4, she talks about interpretation as an act of revenge. And here, she describes it as Philistinism, the insensitivity towards art. It's something which is very negative. She thinks that the people who don't know anything about it, they talk about it. So, according to her, most modern critics, for most modern critics, interpretation amounts to be the Philistine refusal to leave the work of art alone. Means the people who are interested in the act of interpretation, they impose the meaning on the work of art. It is a kind of the Philistinism. So, in our view, real art has the capacity to make us nervous. And by reducing the work of art to its content, only focusing on the content and interpreting that, one tames the work of art. Tames means one is trying to enslave the work of art, taming the wild animal. The work of art is just like a wild animal, it cannot be controlled. And those who try to interpret the work of art, they are doing nothing but taming the work of art. They are trying to bring the work of art in their control. So, interpretation makes art manageable and conformable. Okay, means that's what I told you. It does not remain wild as such, uncontrollable. By interpretation, they try to establish their control on it and to make it behave in conformity with the rules. Okay, as per the norms, as per their way of looking at the things. So she calls this particular act as Philistinism. The Philistinism of interpretation is more rampant, rife in literature than in any other art. Means it is not there in painting, in music, and other forms of art, but it is more dominant, rampant in literature. For decades now, she says, literary critics have understood it to be their task to translate the elements of the poem or play or novel or story into something else. So that is what they do. They try to give meaning to it, which is not there actually. They come up with the meaning something suitable to them. So some writers like Thomas Mann, for example, give the clear and explicit interpretation of their own work. The writer themselves give the clear and very explicit interpretation of their work. But in case of certain authors, the critics happily take the responsibility of interpretation. For example, she talks about Kafka. The work of Kafka, Franz Kafka, has been subjected to a mass ravishment by no less than three armies of interpreters. Okay, so they attack the work of Kafka for interpretation. So those who read Kafka as a social allegory, number one, there are three categories. Number one category of the critic is the critics who read Kafka as a social allegory. They find social allegory in the work of Kafka. And such critics see case studies of the frustration and insanity of modern bureaucracy and its ultimate issuance in the totalitarian state. That is the first group. They see in Kafka's work the frustration and insanity of modern bureaucracy and its effect on the state, the totalitarian state. Totalitarian state means the state which is autocratic in a way, not democratic. The second group, those who read Kafka as a psychoanalytic allegory. Such groups see desperate revelations of Kafka's fear of his father. That is what we call the Oedipus complex. His castration anxieties, his sense of his own impotence, his thraldom to his dreams. So this is how they interpret Kafka. They interpret Kafka as a psychoanalytic allegory. And there is one more group. So he calls these three groups as three armies of interpreters. Sontag calls those who read Kafka as a religious allegory explain that K, there is a character named K in the castle. Castle is the name of the work by Kafka. Is trying to gain access to heaven. That Joseph K in the trial, again, one more character in the work, the trial, is being judged by the inexplorable and mysterious justice of God. So this is how they come up with interpretation. And there is another corpus. Corpus means the data that has attracted interpreters like leeches. So she calls them as leeches. Is that of Samuel Beckett. Leeches is a kind of small insect, found in hair. So she compares these critics with leeches. And they try to interpret Samuel Beckett's work. So Beckett's delicate dramas are read as a statement about modern man's alienation from meaning or from God. Means modern man is alienated from meaning or from God. They look at Beckett's dramas as an allegory of psychopathology. Okay, so they look at uh, Beckett dramas as a kind of mental disorder, and some look at from the religious perspective, and some from the medical perspective. Apart from Kafka and Beckett, there are some other authors such as Proust, Joyce, Faulkner, Rilke, Lawrence, Guide, etc. Guide. So she said that this list is endless. The list is endless of those around whom thick incrustations of interpretation have taken hold. Means many critics try to come up with interpretations of all these works, but she thinks that it should be noted that interpretation is not simply the compliment that mediocrity pays to genius. So she called these critics as mediocrats. They think that by reading these works, by interpreting these works, they are doing a great service to this genius. They're doing a great service to these writers. Mediocre is the people with average quality. So these average people are paying respect to genius by doing so. And it is rather the modern way of understanding something.